just to pull back a little bit, I think a lot of times, and people are not wrong, but people think of humor and comedy as kind of a distraction from reality or a break from reality or a a distraction or a break, and that is true, and we could use that, and we that's why they call laughter the best medicine. I would say it's probably like good medicine tied with like the polio vaccine, but it's, we know that it's good medicine. Um, but there are tons, thousands of studies that also associate humor, and we can talk about what we mean when we say humor, but humor with a lot of serious things and a lot of things that actually are entwined with reality, or in fact improve and adjust and change reality. In other words, comedy doesn't just take us out of it; it actually puts us into it and helps us create the reality that we want. And when it comes to leadership, there are all sorts of studies, again, that associate humor. Again, we can define that in a second, but with leadership, because, and this may not be the reasons that you would expect, but because humor, someone with a sense of humor is seen as trustworthy. And we can talk about why. They're seen as confident. We can talk about why. And they're seen as, and they also are able to make connections with others. And so all of those are, those are just some examples of why humor is associated with leadership in all of these studies, and that might be surprising because you might think of the funny person in the room as like the joker, not the leader. But where the joker and the leader come together is exactly that. And that's what, when we're talking about humor here, we're not only talking about the person who kind of distracts and delights, which is welcome.
Yeah.
But we're also talking about a person who is really tuned into the vibe of the room or of a group or of a moment. In other words, who can read the room,
Yeah.
who can and who can kind of deliver thoughtfully, drop some wisecracks that are appropriate to the moment. And that takes some skill.
Yeah.
And what you're doing when you do that is, or anyone telling a joke, or anyone, let's to put a fine point on it, anyone getting a joke, when everyone gets the same joke, it means they're connected. Because if you think about it, not everyone's going to get the same joke. It may depend on context. It may depend on knowledge. It may depend on experience. It may depend on where you live. Who knows, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, and so when people all get the same joke, it means by definition that they have some sort of connection.